Thank you, Neil. Now, the government has announced a delay for the fifth time to the application of border checks on imports of food and plant produce from the EU. Now, we have the right, post-Brexit, to impose border checks, and the EU imposes them on items coming from the UK. And it's been doing that since 2021. That's their normal rule for things coming in from outside the EU. But while we were going to reciprocate with checks on their goods coming here, we've not managed to get the system in place. The last delay saw the controls scheduled for the end of October. That is now being pushed back until January. Let us talk to Nigel Jenney, who is Chief Executive of the Fresh Produce Consortium, and it's an industry body that speaks for most of the UK's fresh produce supply chain. Nigel, just talk us through what is going on here that we have not managed to get this system up since 2021, and we're still having to delay it.
Evan, good evening. Well, we have had to be patient. It's taken a while, I concede, but following the last consultation, the inevitable further delay, I suppose, is the only credible conclusion. However, there are some positive aspects of the new proposal from government, which I think will be positive for both industry and for consumers alike. What's the positive bit of this announcement? The positive aspects include where there's been an evaluation of goods into high, medium and low categories. And the great news is that based on considerable evidence that the government has, fresh produce, so namely fruit and vegetables, will be not subject to highly complex and very costly delays and inspections at the border. So that will save both industry and consumers a considerable amount of money annually. So it'll be a fairly light touch system probably when it comes in. Light touch from a fruit and veg point of view, but I do have to say I still have some considerable concerns with regard to the importation of cut flowers and plants, where there are several areas remaining of considerable concern. And your concern is that the restrictions will just make it a hassle to get these things in and push prices up for consumers? Well, in headline times, yes, but I think what we do need to be doing is encouraging that we have a border process that both encourages imports and promotes exports at the same time. And some of the proposals that are still in discussion, which is a real concern after years of waiting, that as an industry we want to have, as responsible businesses, to be able to conduct and complete our own official inspections, which would save considerable time, promote the quality and the freshness of the products that we sell to us all as consumers, and frankly minimise the cost to the taxpayers as well. We spoke to Jacob Rees-Mogg about all of this, and wasn't able to appear, but he said about these controls, it was never a requirement in our Brexit vision. And I'm quoting from a text from him. I'm in favour of the checks not only being delayed, but being abandoned. The EU's product standards are high, so importing from the EU doesn't need many checks at all, and we should extend this indeed to other trading partners with high standards. Doesn't he have a point there? We didn't impose checks when we were in the EU. Their rules haven't changed since we left the EU. So what is it we're trying to protect ourselves from now we Brexited? I think this becomes the world of politics, I would suggest, Evan, rather than practical reality of trading. However, the revised approach, and I think it's always been this way, that the new proposal is a global position. So the same expectations that we are going to apply to Europe will be the same for the rest of the world. So actually, from some aspects of our industry, this could be very good news. Right. So that because you're not really meant to discriminate between one trading bloc and another. So if you apply it to one, you've got to give it to the others. What is it that they're actually planning? Because they have this. They say they're trying to refine their system, and this sort of world class. They say they're going to be the best import check system in the world. Well, what exactly is the check going to be? Because there really isn't room at Dover, for example, for massive amounts of custom check. I mean, what form are the checks that we're imposing going to take? Well, I think the checks in reality are a combination of documentary checks. So in other words, is the paperwork correct? And then subsequently a potential physical check. As an organisation, we've always argued that actually we need to have very effective ways of doing these things, and literally stopping thousands of vehicles at our borders is neither cost effective or effective from a biosecurity point of view, which is why we've continued to encourage to allow the responsible businesses in our sector to do their own inspections, because the other way to look at it, you'd have thousands of eyes looking at these goods on a daily basis rather than a few hundred official inspectors.
Yeah. So when they say it'll be a world-class border system, do you believe them? Because that's what they say they're refining.
Well, I think that's frankly aspirational from an industry point of view at the moment.
Yeah.
What we're looking to drive is highly efficient, cost effective processes to do inspections when they're required. Their aspiration from a development of IT and many other aspects is great news, but we're a long way from being convinced as an industry their processes will work effectively. So, in the meantime, we want a fast and efficient border process to minimise the cost to industry, maintain biosecurity, and minimise the cost to hard pressed consumers.
All right. Nigel, thanks for that. Nigel Jenney from the Fresh Produce Consortium.